All right, guys, welcome to week 11 of the Gambling Show. I'm here with Yanni. What's up, dude?
What's up, buddy?
Huge day for me. Hold on, everyone. I don't know if you can see this, but that's the special illustration for Charizard. I pulled that today. Fucking awesome.
No camping in front of GameStop with a stupid sleeping bag, and a little
Yeah,
stove I saw people doing.
yeah, no camping in front of GameStop or anything. I pulled that like it within 10 packs. So I have a bunch of product on the way, and now I'm just going to leave it sealed and scalp the shit out of it.
For
But
those for those for those who don't know, that means like Ted probably put up $1,000 in total or $500 in total. With the value of the sealed product and the value of the pull, he's probably up like 2 grand, maybe 3 grand today. So that's a big day. That's a
yeah,
big day.
something like that, right? Like as soon as you rip open a pack, the value shoots down unless you get like the big card or whatever, right? And sealed's going crazy right now. Is it all just a bubble? I don't know, but that's a different podcast. All right, so let's get into the week 10 recap. We both went 3-2, so winning week for both of us, in some regards. I'll start first. The Giants Bears over 46 and a half. This did not hit. I believe the game total was 44. You know, I feel like I don't know. I don't want to say it was the right side because like when you're betting totals, like I feel like there's a lot more variance than just picking a side in the game. But I feel like a lot of the things that I called out about the game like were correct, right? Like Jackson Dart before he left the game, and by the way, Jackson Dart left the game halfway through the third quarter. Looked very good. So the Giants were up like 20-7 or something. It was like snowing in Chicago, but it wasn't like overwhelming snow or anything like that. Caleb Williams leads like a 10 point fourth quarter comeback. So the Bears win, but after Jackson Dart left, the Giants did not score another point in the contest. So, you know, sometimes those totals are tough. I don't know. I feel like I got a lot of things right about the game, but it doesn't matter if the total doesn't go over. So that's just one L. Patriots money line. This was a head to head, the first head to head of mine and Yanni's, and I'm going to save that for him because I won. Cardinals plus 6.5. I think this is probably. I'm trying to think. This might be my worst bet of the year. This thing was dead like within 7 minutes of the start of the game. I think the Seahawks went up 28-0 on the back of two touchdown drives and two defensive touchdowns, like within the first four drives. So this thing was over quickly. Sam Darnold, like the Seahawks got so far up in the game that after the first quarter, Sam Darnold threw two passes the rest of the game. All of the Cardinals like touchdowns were pretty much empty calories, like where the Seahawks playing prevent didn't really care. Was not even close. Did I underestimate the Seahawks? Did I overestimate the Cardinals and Jacoby Brissett? I'm having a hard time putting my finger on what exactly it was there, but not close. Lions minus 8.5. I'll give that one to Yanni as well. That was a consensus of ours that we won. Then the Eagles money line, the Monday night game. This was actually a big game for me. I had two fantasy outcomes relying on this game. I had my Pick'em league relying on this game, and I had the gambling picks, and they were all centered around the Eagles doing really well here. The Eagles won, so we won the bet. But God, that looked ugly. That was like a defensive battle between the Eagles and Packers. Philly gets the touchdown on the long bomb to Devontae Smith. Josh Jacobs kills one of my fantasy teams with a touchdown in the fourth quarter. The Eagles barely hold on to win this one 10-7. I don't know what's going on with Philly in their offense. I thought that after the bye, right, and they looked a little bit better going into the bye, that they would kind of keep up that momentum. That was not the case. But Jordan Love had a tough time against the Eagles defense. That was like kind of a lot of the reason I think me and Yanni bet that. So it came home. That was good. So after the 3-2 week, since I had no parlays, I made like I think it was like $120 after it's all said and done. So I'm slowly working my way out of the hole. I went from like almost 5 units in the red to now I'm only 3.6 units in the red. Season record crawls up to 23 and 27, so still 4 games under 500. But we got 8, 9 more weeks left of this stuff. So gonna keep plugging away at it.
Yeah, so for mine, I experimented with taking big favorites on the money line last week. I didn't like it. I didn't have fun taking them, and I just didn't like the process, and I didn't like the payout when you did hit one. It was not worth it. It will not be something I'm going back to. But I did take the Bears on the money line. That came home, but it barely came home. I don't know if Jackson Dart doesn't get hurt. A, I think Ted's over hits, but B, like I don't know if I win that one. The Bears looked pretty bad until the fourth quarter when Caleb kind of pulled it out. Caleb made some cool plays at the end, but I also thought had some like rough ones in the middle of the game. Panthers money line. I honestly did not see a world where this didn't hit. It's why I was willing to put a two-leg parlay for only a 1-to-1 payout or 2-to-1 payout, basically. I'm shocked at how bad they looked. I also think Shuck, like, maybe was a little surprising, like, in how solid he looked. Like, maybe he's a player, not like a good football player, but, you know, an average NFL quarterback, maybe, whereas I thought he would be garbage. And he really kind of had been for the most part until that point, but played a really good football game. Olave went off. Kamara had one of his best games of the year. That's why I will not be going back to these giant money line favorites. The risk was not worth the reward there at all. The next time I'm confident in a team on a side, but not confident in the spread, I should just be brave and take the underdog at minus 5.5. I believe this line was at, or plus 5.5 for the Saints. Um, yeah, lesson learned. Lesson learned the hard way, unfortunately, because half my parlay hit, and then half the other parlay busted. I lost the head-to-head to Theodore, and fair and square too. This was not a fluky game. This was not something wrong. This was Drake May and the Patriots are like a legitimate team that are going to make a legitimate run this year. I had actually been betting on them all year. Ted played it perfectly, man. I bet them a few times as big favorites. I stayed away from him when they went in when Atlanta was minus 5.5 over Atlanta. I thought that was too big of a number, but Ted actually did the sharp thing and went on Atlanta as underdogs at plus 5.5 and covered there. He then swung back around at the market, readjusting, and took the Patriots money line as underdogs. I believe they were plus 2.5 in this one and hit it. That's look, I'll take that L fair and square. There was nothing cheap about that. That was just being sharper than I was in there. I really thought the Bucks at home coming off a bye week. I thought Todd Bowles would put up a better play, and I thought Drake May would turn the ball over a little bit more. To me, I actually think we probably need to flag moving forward that like maybe when Bucky gets back, this changes, and maybe Chris Godwin too, and Mike Evans. It sounds like will be back before the end of the year. Like those are three pretty big names to be missing from your offense, and like maybe I overestimated the Baker magic a little bit. There's also some pretty serious splits with Baker as like a favorite and an underdog that I think probably need to be paid more attention to, and I didn't. Um, Took the L and I deserved it. For the Lions with the Skins, that was our consensus pick. That did hit. We had a bunch of figures we threw at you for why in certain situations Dan Campbell's a wagon. Dan Campbell's taken over play calling the last 2 weeks. In that time, Jamison Williams has been the wide receiver 4 in fantasy since Dan Campbell took over. Jahmyr Gibbs has, I think, had 67 half PPR points in that same stretch. I think he wanted to see certain things out of their offense that they weren't seeing. Can he keep it up this week against Vic Fangio? That's what I'm very curious about. Fun little storyline. It paid out big for me and Ted. It was 44-22 on that game. I think the market continues to perpetually overvalue what the Skins are and what they are not at this point. I think they did it again this week. One of us may have some action on it. So unfortunately, I am now no longer in the green on units. I was up a Panda Express family meal, and I am now down 2.5 Panda Express family meals with a coupon, unfortunately. So I'm at almost 1 unit in the hole. I am at a winning record, 25-24 on one. But again, lesson learned about like taking minus 250 bets. The risk is not worth the reward. It would have only paid out a half a unit in a parlay. It would have only paid out half a unit if I hit, and instead it cost me a parlay. It was just bad process by me. But I am stoked we each had a winning week. Like honestly, this year's been really hard. We've been really grinding. It has been a whole process to learn, and we're learning a bunch, right? We're still learning as we go here. We're competing with guys that have been making picks and doing this stuff for 20 or 30 years. So I am happy that we came out 3-2. I'm bummed that one of us came at the expense of the other one, but that's the way it goes when you go head to head.
Yeah, I feel like we usually have a head to head and it happens earlier, so I'm surprised it took until week 10 for that to happen, right? And also, like, this has been a hard year. I don't think I've
Oh,
ever been this much like been in the red in under 500 for this long, and like just scratching and crawling. I'm not getting many of those like 4-1 weeks anymore like I was picking. But I think the board was pretty good this week. I think we got some good picks here. So here's the week 11 picks. I'm doing a 2-leg parlay to start it out. I am actually taking The Miami Dolphins. This is a
Uh,
team that I shit talk a lot. Um, but and they're giving away points. I'm giving away points to the Miami Dolphins to continue fading the Washington Redskins. Then our consensus pick, and this is going to be the second leg of my parlay, is the Texans -5.5 against the Titans. It's going to be a rematch of earlier in the season where the Texans dog walked the Titans. We're betting on that happening again. Then for my three single picks, I'm doing the Chiefs -3.5 against the Broncos. I feel like this might be one of the games of the week. I have a lot of conviction in this. I've been wrong on the Chiefs a couple times before this year, but that's not going to stop me betting them over a field goal favorite. Then the Ravens -7.5. They're playing the Browns in Cleveland, so I'm making a lot of historical no-nos here. You're not supposed to bet on a road divisional favorite in the AFC North, but I'm going to do it because I feel like there's a marketable difference in between what these teams are now. Then the last one, this is also a consensus of mine and Yanni's, the Cowboys and Raiders over 50.5. I saw Yanni pinging all these Cowboys overs, and I decided I wanted a piece. I wanted it on the action, so I'm doing it. 50.5 feels like it might be a little too short. So the breakdown is this: if the two-leg parlay hits, that returns $353.88. If the single games hit, that returns $569.48. On a 5-0 week, we are up $923.63. Total cost of the ticket is $400 because there's three singles and the one parlay. And I put myself in this position again. 5-0 week gets me just barely over 500. 5-0 week gets me in the green. This is the week. It's been 2 years since this has happened. I feel like the 5-0 is coming.
Okay, so this week I am taking a big underdog. I am taking a road underdog in the AFC North, which is what you're supposed to do in theory. I'm taking the Bengals +5.5 at the Steelers. That is going to be my single bet of the week. So I actually feel pretty good about it. So we're letting that one hang out there at -112. I am riding together. Me and Ted are riding together on a few of these. I just look, we don't coordinate this ahead of time. We don't plan it ahead of time, but there are certain numbers that I look at and I'm really locked into, and so is Ted, and that's going to happen sometimes. This year, I feel like we've had a lot more consensus than normal. I think part of it, for me at least, is I haven't liked a lot of the boards when I've looked at them this season. I don't know. That's just been me. Last year, I felt like there were a lot of games where I had, or a lot of weeks where I had like 7 to 8 picks that I loved, and I was really toiling between how to get it down to 5. This year, it's been more like I have 3 to 4, and I have to try to force 1 or 2 in there. It's not been ideal. But so my first leg of my first parlay is going to be the Texans -5.5. I'm parlaying that with the 49ers -3 at the Cardinals. So I'm taking two divisional road favorites and I'm parlaying them after I'm taking the divisional road dog with the Bengals. I'm riding with Ted on the -3.5 for the Chiefs, going to the Denver Broncos. And then we're both together on the 50.5 for the Raiders over. And I'm parlaying those last two picks as well. Total parlay return 714.86. Total other return, just my single bet, 189.29. So total potential return this week of $904 on a $300 stake. In the hole, about zero point 0.8 units, $83. And I am winning by just a hair this year at 25, 24, and 1.
All right, and let's get into the game breakdowns. So this is the Madrid game. It's going to be happening at 6:30 in the morning, West Coast time. But I will be up to sweat a bet between two absolutely terrible teams. We have the Washington Redskins and the Miami Dolphins. Um, you know, I I feel like this is the first game in Madrid. If it's not, it's got to be one of the first ones, and we are just sending them like two of the worst teams in the NFL. Sorry about that, guys. But I will be interested in this game because I have a wager on it now. Here's the betting breakdown: 63% of total bets against the spread are on the Miami Dolphins here, and 55% of the dollars against the spread are on the Dolphins. So it is a public pick. There's some whales that are coming in on Washington. I get why whale money would not want to be giving taking the Dolphins giving away points here, but I'm gonna do it. I think it's fine. Season records against the spread, the Redskins are 3-7, so definitely underperforming, and the Dolphins are 5-5. I think that's surprising given how much stink has been around this franchise all year that they've covered 5 times. Offensive and defensive ranks. The Skins are 18th in offensive yards gained and 30th in defensive yards allowed. So middle of the road offense, trash defense, according to the numbers. Then the Dolphins are 25th in offensive yards gained and 24th in defensive yards allowed, which kind of is stinky all across the board. So for me, it just feels like what this bet is, right? Because I've been on record not liking the Dolphins at all. I thought that McDaniel or Tua would be done. I don't know how many times I've texted Yanni during the season making fun of Tua Tagovailoa, saying, "Oh my God, it's so over. This guy sucks. What's happening in Miami?" I feel like we have to recognize that without Jaden Daniels and without Terry McLaurin, this Redskins team is so bad all across the board. Nothing that they have is good. They're I mean, I don't think trading Brian Robinson Jr. is really a big deal. I don't think like he would have really moved the needle for this team, right? But Bill has been underperforming. Bill Krosky Merritt, Christian Rodriguez, not a very good player, right? Jeremy McNichols, like a middle of the road scat back. You have Marcus Mariota back there who hasn't been perceived as good since maybe his first season as a rookie, right? You have Debo Samuel out there. I love Debo and his time with the 49ers, but I think his best years are behind him. It just, they aren't good at anything, really. And at least the Dolphins, what I've seen over the past couple of weeks, right, is I think that Mike McDaniel, while I don't think that he survives this season in Miami, I think he's an elite play caller. And really, I feel like a lot of what the Dolphins' success has been in this recent weeks and what their success has been over his entire tenure is really a testament to the play calling that Mike McDaniel has done, right? Because I think the secret's out now, the toothpaste out of the tube that Tua is not a good enough quarterback, like just as a whole, right? But when he can stick to schedule and do what Mike McDaniel wants him to do, I feel like it can kind of work, right? And I guess that kind of goes to show like when Tua would be out for these Dolphins teams over the past couple of years, it would just be unwatchable, right? So even though I don't think Tua is going to survive in Miami, I don't think the coaching regime is going to survive in Miami. They're at least playing decent enough football. It looks like the players are at least playing hard for the coach, even though they might not have the talent on the roster that some Dolphins fans might have thought they had coming into the year, right? And it's a good number. It's under a field goal. Other little trend note here is that these favorites in the overseas games cover it 63% of the time, which I mean that's pretty notable. Our sample size now is like almost 60 games, I want to say. So we have a pretty large sample size of these favored teams performing better, like with the adversity that comes with traveling so far to play a football game, right? I'm not under the impression that either of these teams are good, but especially without Jaden Daniels, that it feels like Dolphins under a field goal has got to be the pick here. Again, I it doesn't feel good to me to be giving away points and picking the Miami Dolphins, but it wasn't a super easy week, and I feel like if you're willing to plug your nose and like kind of get into this game, especially at 6:30 in the morning, it feels like it might be an easy one. I don't know. What do you think, Yanni? I know that you're higher on a lot of specific Dolphins guys than me, but do you
Yeah.
think this is like a crazy bet to make?
Well, one, I actually think there's like a very real chance that Mike and Tua and all them run it back next year because they're stuck with Tua under contract. And there's probably no coach in the NFL who's capable of getting more out of him. Sadly. I mean, like, that's like a weird thing, but I think there's a chance that they just go, they can't unload Tua, dude. They would be down $130 million in the salary cap over 2 years. So like I think they might be stuck with him. If not, get Mike McDaniel to Detroit. That's what I was thinking about first when you were talking. But yeah, dude, some numbers just about why I think you picked a really good bet here. I'm actually kind of bummed I didn't go with you on it, honestly. So the Commanders are 31st in passing defense in yards allowed. A-Chain is fourth in the NFL in rushing. Tua's seventh in the NFL in passing touchdowns. Waddle is 10th in the NFL in receiving yards. So like they're actually their core three guys right now are going off. Whatever you think of them as players, like there's differing opinions, but they're going off right now against a defense that is reeling. And then I thought this was funny about the Commanders or the Skins or whatever. If anything goes wrong for them on offense this year, it's just over. So they're 0-5 when they average below 5 yards per carry. They're 0-3 when they're held below 100 rushing yards. They're 0-5 when throwing an interception in a game. Essentially, like everything has to be like the perfect. They're this very fragile ecosystem, and when something goes wrong, the whole thing collapses. And not that the Dolphins have been great lately, but like I thought they took it to Josh Allen. I think they've come out pretty feisty the last 2 or 3 weeks as like heads started to roll and getting fired. Um, so yeah, there's no against the spread pick that's easy in the NFL. You're betting on Tua Tagliavoa. That's never a great feeling, but I think you probably found a pretty good one here. I think it comes up.
Battle of the Polynesian quarterbacks, Marcus Mariota and Tua. Didn't even think
Yeah.
about that until just now.
Hey, man, good for them. Okay, now for my big underdog. I'm doing my best impression of a sharp better this week. I'm taking a big division road dog. I'm taking the Bengals at +5.5 against the Steelers. 65% of total bets against the spread have gone on the Bengals. However, 53% of total dollars against the spread have gone on the Bengals. So the big money or the sharp money does disagree with me to the tune of about a 12% difference. And I don't blame them. The Bengals are 3-6 this year against the spread. The Steelers are 4-5 against the spread. For your breakdowns, I was actually pretty surprised the Bengals are only the 22nd ranked offense in yards gained. I thought they would be a little higher, but they had that Jake Browning period is probably why. And then defensive ranking, they are 32nd. This is the worst defense in the NFL. The Steelers, though, are 29th in total offense in yards gained. I don't think that matters when you're playing the 32nd ranked defense, and they are 28th in yards allowed. There are some interesting trends for this one. We all know about the Tomlin spot at home, but the Steelers lost last time 33-31. Tomlin only covers as a home favorite 47.8% of the time. He covers at home over 70% of the time as an underdog. So you're talking about like a 23% difference in his cover rate, whether he's an underdog or a favorite at home. That to me is a major trend. But they have covered the last 4 home games against a team with a losing record. They're also 8-3 against the spread in their last 11 home games. So the Steelers have been a wagon at home lately. To me, this is very simply a bet on what these Bengals weapons did to them the last time they played. The last time they played, Chase, I believe, had 23 or 25 targets, and it produced 16 receptions, 161 yards, and a touchdown. Higgins came out with 6 receptions, 96 yards, and a touchdown. The Steelers currently allow the most passing yards in the NFL, just shy of 270. Since joining the Bengals, Joe Flacco has averaged 345 passing yards per game. He has brought them to the 13th rated passing offense in the NFL, despite the Jake Browning period in the middle of the year. So to me, it's a very straightforward bet. It's really it. I think this has real shootout potential. I almost took the over here as well. I just didn't, the ghosts of Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers throwing for an over in a game in an NFC North rivalry game. I don't know how good I would have felt about that. But I think the over is totally live here. If I had to bet one or the other, I would. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it may come down to who has the ball in their hands last. The Steelers have really been kicking a lot of field goals lately, which is another thing. I just think there's a lot of different ways this number covers. 5.5 is a lot. That's a pretty big number for them to be laying. I'm not sure why it's that big. They beat them by 2 points last time. And so to me, this is very straightforward. Can the Steelers cover Higgins and Chase? And if they cover one, can they cover both? So I think maybe they come in with some game plan where they are really aggressively rolling coverage toward Chase and bracketing him, maybe. But if they do, you're going to have Higgins running wild. That's been their system. That's how they work. And Yoshi Voss is a great slot wide receiver. I just, I don't know, dude. 345 passing yards a game from Joe Flacco since he came there. They are dropping it back and airing it out like I've never seen anything like it from a backup quarterback. Um, there was like a point this year where Joe Flacco was pacing for 5,000 passing yards. It's just ridiculous. So that's all it is. I'm playing the number and I'm playing what I perceive to be a huge advantage on one side of the ball. I think the Steelers are going to get their points. I think the Steelers are going to move the ball. I think we're talking about totally different ball games when we're talking about DK Metcalf and Jalen Warren going against Higgins, Chase Brown. Give me the Bengals comfortably at +5.5.
So what worries me about this game, 'cause I feel like a lot of what you said about the Bengals offense, especially with Joe Flacco, right? It feels like he's breathed life into the offense, whereas before they were just totally dead with Jake Browning, right? Last week on Sunday night when I watched the Steelers and the Chargers play, and I had to watch it pretty closely because I had a Justin Herbert roster. I was
Right.
kind of surprised at how good of a job the Steelers did defensively against the Chargers. And what I know about the Chargers, right, is at least right now they have a banged up, not very good offensive line with pretty good weapons, and they were able to hit um, Justin Herbert like 8 or 9 times or something like that, right? So I
Yeah.
wonder, right, if Mike Tomlin is more than just a CEO head coach, right? If Mike Tomlin is like a defensive genius, like I mean, he's billed as, his Steelers defenses have been good in years past. Obviously, there's some weird shit going on this year, right? But I wonder if the game plan changes now that because Joe Flacco's first start for the Bengals was against the Steelers team on Thursday night, right? I wonder if
Yep.
he took them by surprise a little bit and they weren't expecting him to be that good, and they have a different game plan coming out, right?
Yep.
It's always spooky behind like a tissue paper offensive line that the Bengals have. Like if Flacco takes one bad hit, they're back to Jake Browning, man. And
Yeah.
that's a little spooky. And I feel like the Steelers score points here, but the Bengals have just been playing so hot right now. I feel like, especially with the trends too, Bengals plus 5.5 is the side I would prefer. Um, it does worry me. I have
Yeah.
aggressive fantasy bags on this game though, on both ends. I would love to see a shootout here, and I think that as long as it is a shootout, you have a good number because plus 5.5 is covering a couple key numbers. It is a lot of points with good
Yeah.
offenses, right? That back door is way more open on these large spreads. So I like it. I'll be watching it though. I'm interested to see if Unk Bowl version 2 is just as good as the first one was.
Oh,
That was so awesome on a Thursday night, like Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco just lighting it up. That was so sick. All right, this one, and I'll take this one because you have the Niners next. We are both taking the Texans minus 5.5 going into Tennessee to play the pathetic Titans. Here's the betting breakdown: 64% of total bets against the spread are on the Texans here, and only 62% of total dollars against the spread are on the Texans. So slight little baby whale lean towards Tennessee here, but not very much. I think that even sharp bettors are sick of betting Tennessee as underdogs because they just have not performed well, right? Season records against the spread: the Texans are 4-5, and the Titans are 3-6. The Titans have already covered more this year than they did all of last year against the spread, but still a very terrible football team. Then the offensive and defensive breakdowns, and I think this is actually extremely funny here. We have the 15th ranked offense for the Texans in yards gained, so middle of the road. Maybe I even think that's overestimating the Texans offense a little bit. They've had a couple nice weeks beating up on bad teams, but they are the number one defense in yards allowed, and I think that is incredibly representative of this Texans defensive unit. I feel like this is a Super Bowl level defense that is just kind of stuck with this ball and chain that is the offensive whatever they're rolling out on a weekly basis for Houston. On the other side, the Titans are the 32nd ranked offense in yards gained. So it doesn't get worse from an offensive perspective for the Tennessee Titans, and they're playing the best defense in the league. And they are 25th in defensive yards allowed, which is not very good either. And to me, it's extremely easy, right? Like I get that we are betting against a home divisional underdog, which is historically not a good bet, but we will buck the trends if we see value here. The value here is the Tennessee Titans are just like this punching bag in the NFL. It feels like I don't know if there's a single team I think that I would kind of project them to beat in a football game right now. Maybe the Jets. Like I feel like they're Jets tier, if not even worse than the Jets, right? And Houston has at least one side of their team that's operating really, really well. So I don't know how the Titans get to like 10 points in this contest, right? They're missing Jeffrey Simmons still. They're missing L'Jarius Sneed still, who's on IR. They've traded away guys like Roger McCreary. The Titans have mailed it in. They're already on to next season. And looking ahead to that, and the Texans are right now, like I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think like the team isn't good enough, at least offensively, and I feel like they're too far behind now. But the belief in the locker room has to be that they're still live for a playoff spot here. Even though CJ Stroud's going to be out, Dougie Mills put up 34 last week against Jacksonville, or I guess technically he put up like 29, right? And they got like a defensive touchdown at the very end of the game to push it to 34 or whatever it was. So I don't know. It feels like without L'Jarius Sneed out there, like Nico Collins, who is the best playmaker at a skill position on the Houston Texans, is live to go off here. Could be a huge Woody Marks week as well. The big Woody Marks breakout game was against the Titans the first time they played, and the Titans have not gotten any better at stopping the run here. Woody Marks had an 80% snap share last week. I don't think it's going to be as much this week because I think Nick Chubb will get a little more run and a positive game script, but I really like the Texans like prospects of being able to run the football here. And then Cam Moore just has no chance throwing to these Walmart cashiers against this Texans defense, right? maybe you could say, if you want to be super charitable to the Titans, you could say, oh, well, Calvin Ridley's their best player. Calvin Ridley's pretty good, right? Well, Calvin Ridley's getting Derek Stingley. And, if your first option is going to be locked up, right? Like, is Elik Iomayor or Chiga Kwonkwo really going to be the difference here? I don't think so. I don't think Tajay Spears being in this game is going to move the needle. To me, anything under 7 was a smash, and this is my favorite pick of the week. I love it. What do you think, man? I'd imagine there's probably a lot of overlap there in the thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I even went and looked it up real quick. They gave Ridley the questionable tag officially, so he's going to be coming off a hamstring injury bad enough to limit him for 2 or 3 weeks. I suspect bad enough to make him untradeable because I don't know why they wouldn't have traded him if he was healthy. I don't think Calvin Ridley matters. I agree with what you said about Woody Marks. The OC actually talked about it today. He said the plan was not to have him take that big of a snap share. He was just playing so well that they let him keep going. This week, like, I don't think they're going to run him as a workhorse. I'm starting Aaron Jones over him in fantasy against Chicago. It's close, but like, I think he's, I don't think he's going to get the full workhorse role. I think you will see that full workhorse role when they need to chase points. I just don't think they're going to chase points here. Yeah, trends is there. Houston's 4-2 against the spread in their last 6. They're 5-1 against the spread the last 6 times they've played Tennessee. And then I wanted to ask why you think this is. Some big money came in on the Titans like today. The number has been driven down over the last day or two from minus 6.5 to minus 5.5 on the Texans. Dude, that's pretty. That is a point of line movement that then stuck, which means money did not drive back in on the Texans. Why do you think sharp money has been coming in on them?
Well, I mean, we're aggressively betting against a historical trend, right? It's a home
That's
divisional
what it is.
underdog, and also it's Davis Mills, which I think
Yeah,
like that. I think
I
people
guess
are willing
CJ.
to try and chase that with not CJ in there.
Okay, well, so then here's some stuff for their offense. Tennessee has allowed 68% of their opponents' first quarter drives to end in scoring. They've allowed every single opening drive in 2025 to score. They're the worst in the NFL on both those. CJ filling in for CJ Mills. I don't even know what it is. Davis Mills filling in for CJ Stroud has thrown almost a 60% completion percentage, 452 yards, 2 touchdowns over 79 passes. And then I thought it was interesting. D'Amico Ryans promised he was going to get his rookies more involved this week. Does that mean more Jalen Noel, who I'm a big fan of, who played really well at stretches? Does that mean more Woody Marks? Does that mean more Higgins? All of those, I think, are really good signs for just the Texans offense in general. And then, yeah, the defense, the thing for the Ward. The only thing for the Titans, I would say, is Ward has picked it up the last 3 weeks. He's gone for 250 yards or more in 3 of his last 5. So I mean that's actually like to me an interesting sign that he's coming together. But they're 1-5 when they've gotten when they've thrown an interception this year at any point. I don't know. It was 26-0 last time they played. I would be stunned personally if the Titans can get to 17. So to me, the number for this to clear is 20 for the Texans, which I'm pretty confident they can achieve. And that's if I think they get to 14 or 17, that would be like the absolute ceiling I see. I think it's more like 7 or 10, which means we're just betting on the Texans to get 17 here. It feels pretty safe.
And also, for the record, my hate on this Titans team and my willingness to fade them, nothing to do with Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward
No.
still has a chance to be a franchise quarterback. I think that he is just
Oh yeah.
stuck in this awful situation in
Yeah.
Tennessee.
Yep. Not his fault. Okay, so I am doing some risky business, taking our 49ers as a road favorite in division against the Cardinals, a team who plays them very tough. It's actually a team that they've historically had some trouble with since Gannon got there. I think he's coached a really good game against Shanahan, the Shanahan scheme, the 49ers. It is a tough matchup. This is a really tough one. The public agrees with me. The big money, I mean, technically does. 73% of total bets against the spread have gone in favor of the 49ers. 75% of every dollar bet against the spread has gone in favor of the 49ers. The 49ers are 5-5 against the spread. The Cardinals are 5-4 against the spread. And then for the 49ers, their offensive rank is 11th, and they are tied for the 21st defensive rank. They're tied with the Cardinals. They've actually both allowed the exact same down to a decimal point number of yards per game on defense. So they are both the 21st ranked defense, tied in yardage. But the Cardinals offense is 21st. They've been playing some rough ball. I'll just tell you, I am going against the historical what's been going on lately. The 49ers are 0-3 against the spread in their last 3 against Arizona. They've been 4-2 against the spread on the road this year. Arizona's only 1-3 against the spread at home. But quietly, Arizona's been kind of a wagon in their last 20 games. Ted picked this out last week when he tried to get on the trend. They're 13-7 ATS in their last 20 games. Like, quietly, you don't even notice it when it's going on, but the Cardinals have weirdly been like a covering machine in the last 20 games. I was pretty surprised when I found that, to be entirely honest with you. I don't know what it is. I think it's because they're such a boring team. They're such a boring middle of the road team. Like, no one's really tracking their trends. I would imagine there are bettors that have made serious money taking the Cardinals in these big spread games if they've been hitting at that rate. But I'm going against them here. Look, I'm going against them for a few reasons. The 49ers are currently the highest yardage passing offense in the NFL. That has been with Mac Jones, but Brock Purdy is at least as good as Mac Jones, despite what 49ers Twitter has to say. Maybe Mac's a little bit cleaner of a pocket passer, but with Brock's mobility, the ceiling is higher on this offense, without a doubt to me. And they're also returning Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall against the 21st ranked passing defense. Ricky had his best game of the year. I think he had, God, it's off the top of my head. I
8
want to say he had
grabs,
like
151.
Yeah, 8 for 151. Okay. So I believe that is his best career game, I think. I don't know if the one against Detroit at the end of last year was a little better, but it's right there for the best game of his career. The Cardinals allow the 12th most yards in the NFL on the ground to running backs. They're pretty good at defending running back passing, but I do think the game plan here is going to be for the 49ers to pound the ball with Christian McCaffrey. And then they allow the 5th most receiving yards per game to tight end. George Kittle historically has torn the Cardinals up in this matchup. This used to be called a Kittle spot. They've been a little bit better in some years, but this year they are bottom 5 against tight ends. The 49ers currently run the 3rd most plays per game. The Cardinals are bottom 10 in plays allowed per game, which to me spells a ball control game script. I think the 49ers are going to try to get out there. They're going to keep the ball out of their hand. They're going to run the ball. They're going to be happy to take long drives. I think we're going to see a lot of Brian Robinson here, actually. They've been doing that more lately, and I think it's a good thing for them. He's actually almost doubling Christian McCaffrey's yards per carry, which is kind of crazy. But, I think there's a lot of elements to their running game that are going to allow them to keep the ball out of Jacoby Brissett's hand. And about the Cardinals on the other side, this defense is down Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Michael Williams, possibly Lenore, who looks truly questionable. He DNP'd twice and has now gotten the questionable tag with his calf coming into the week. But the Cardinals are banged up too. The Cardinals are missing their top 2 running backs. They're missing Marvin Harrison Jr. They're missing Kyler Murray, although I'm not sure how much that matters. Brissett's been dealing since he's been the starter. 5 starts. He has 1,118 yards, 8 touchdowns while completing 60.9% of his passes. The 49ers allow the 13th most receiving yards per game to tight end. I saw a crazy guy who's doing this parlay bet that Trey McBride breaks the NFL receptions record at 15 this week. I think he's live to do it. I get it. The 49ers passing and rushing defense has been sinking like a rock. I could not find the exact figure. I don't know why I couldn't find it. It was very frustrating. The 49ers have massive splits against the spread when they're coming off a win versus coming off a loss. They are like a 20 or 30% higher win percentage when they're coming off a loss the next week against the spread versus a win. They tend to not cover after wins. I don't know why. That's like a attitude thing in the locker room. Kendrick Bourne actually brought it up. I don't think Jacoby Brissett throwing to Michael Wilson is going to be enough to get this done here. I think the Cardinals are going to be able to move the ball because make no mistake about it, the 49ers defense is that injured. They are missing 4 extremely premium players, 2 of which are Hall of Fame caliber players. The other 2 have either been Pro Bowl caliber players or were playing at a Pro Bowl caliber level. That's just the reality of the situation. There's nothing to do about that. But this is the healthiest the offense has been this year since week 1, drive 1 of the season. George Kittle played the first drive of the year and went out all year. Juwan Jennings got banged up later that week. Ricky Pearsall got injured 3 weeks later. These guys have not actually been on the field playing together. It's also coming at a time when Juwan Jennings is as healthy as he's looked all year. He's put together 2 or 3 great weeks in terms of usage and production. I personally, and Ted agrees with me on this one, we're apparently alone on this based on some of the commentary I've seen online. I think Ricky Pearsall is a really fucking good football player. He does not get the national recognition because he's only a second-year guy and he came out and got hurt. But Ricky is an explosive out of the slot guy, and he was being used at every level of the field before he got injured. This was a dude who was making clutch plays for them. I think having him back really matters. George Kittle did not seem entirely healthy when he first came off the hamstring. He looks like it now. Had a tremendous game last week. I'm expecting another huge one this week. I feel great about the 49ers offense. I really do. I think they're going to be stoked having Purdy back. Purdy has said he's playing at 100%. He's not even wearing the foot insert, which is a pretty big deal. If he's not wearing the foot insert, that means he's not feeling instability in the foot anymore. I mean, hopefully, because I don't know why he wouldn't wear it if not. So that probably means his mobility is in play, assuming they're being honest about that. I don't know if you can ever assume the 49ers injury reporting is honest. But yeah, just for a lot of reasons, I felt really good about this one. I hate betting on San Francisco. I hate doing it. It adds this whole other layer of tension to something that's already really tense for me. I do the 49ers Hub report cards, catch it every week on Twitter on Tuesdays. I do the 49ers Hub report cards for the game, which means I have to take notes on every play that happens. It's actually pretty stressful because like they haven't been doing well lately. I got to sit through that. But I don't think I'm going to sweat this one out. I think the Cardinals will get to 21 or 24 points. I just think the 49ers are live here for 35. They've been on fire lately offensively. It's just the defense that's not performing.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited about what we're about to see from the 49ers offense, right? Like it feels to me, and I know we've had this conversation before, it feels to me like if we had our key guys that were healthy, this was like a potential Super Bowl run. I think we'd be right in the
Yep.
mix with Seattle and the Rams. And it feels like the season kind of got robbed due to injury, right? But 3 points is a really short number. The Cardinals are also down in the dumps. Like they've done a good job like staying in games, but it feels like last week their bill came due against Seattle and just an absolute drubbing. I'll tell you, it worries me when two defenses are bad enough, right? And I said this on the Bengals and Steelers game. When you're going to have a lot of points flying back and forth, I tend to prefer the underdog in that situation. But no Marvin Harrison, even though he has not been awesome for the majority of the season, I feel like that's a big deal. I feel like the drop
Yeah.
off between Marvin Harrison and like Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch is pretty massive here. It feels like that's at least a 3 point difference in the Niners' favor. So yeah, I agree. I didn't want to put my stink on it, and now that I didn't bet the game, it should definitely cover for you because the only time the Niners don't cover is when I bet on them. So I like it. All right, this is another consensus of ours, and we are riding with the Chiefs -3.5. We are giving away points and giving away the key number of three here, going into Mile High to play the Broncos. Here's the betting breakdown: only 50% of bets against the spread are on the Chiefs here, but 72% of the dollars are on the Chiefs against the spread. So we have a pretty large whale lean coming in here. It's a big whale play. And I feel like that's interesting because historical trends usually tell you fade Mahomes when he's over a 3.5 point favorite and always bet Mahomes under three and as an underdog, right? So it feels like the trend betters here are willing to also jump on the ship with Chiefs -3.5 here, and I think it's a good call. Season records against the spread, the Chiefs are 5-4 this year. It's been just like a really weird season for them in the macro. Then for the Broncos, they are 4-6 against the spread. They just continue to look weird on a weekly basis. Here's the offensive and defensive breakdowns. The Chiefs are seventh in offensive yards gained and sixth in defensive yards allowed, which is top 10 in both categories, great in both categories, and I think that's representative of the Kansas City Chiefs. Then for the Broncos, they are currently 13th in offensive yards gained and third in defensive yards allowed. I think that is representative of the Broncos defense. That's definitely the strength of their team. 13th in offensive yards gained, though, is I feel that might be a little fraudulent. I think the Broncos have beaten up on a couple really bad teams because they have
Yep.
had one of the easiest schedules in the league. And I don't know, man. Like I'll be completely transparent here. The main reason I'm on this game, it's obviously because we've said this for weeks now. I really think the Chiefs are the best team in the league, and they've just had like a weird season. But with Rasheed Rice back and Xavier Worthy available, I feel like it's the evil empire that's just marching their way to a Super Bowl, right? They have lost like a lot of regular season games. They're not covered these numbers, but man, am I willing to fade Bo Nix against a real NFL defense, man. Only 10 points against the Raiders in a standalone game on Thursday last week. I get that it was windy or whatever and a little weird, but Bo Nix has not really been good all season, right? Like he's kind of had like you know, he's kind of been like Caleb Williams a little bit, where like his first usually halves of the games are absolutely atrocious, and then he kind of comes back in the fourth quarter and wins games, right? Like this Broncos team was shut out by the New York Giants. The New York Giants, who are starting Paulson Adebo, a cornerback, were able to blank the Broncos for 3 quarters of a game, and then Bo Nix scored like what was it, like 28 points in the fourth quarter. Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs aren't going to let you do that, right? I feel like the only path to the Broncos covering this number would be if they kept the Chiefs under like, I don't know, maybe 20 points. And without Pat Surtain out there, like, are you going to keep the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes with Rashee Rice available under 20 points? I don't think so. The Chiefs have gone over 30, I want to say, or no, they only scored 21 against the Bills, right? But the previous two games with Rashee Rice available, they won over 30 both of those games, which I think the Chiefs maybe touched 30 once all of last season, right? So it feels like the Chiefs are really starting to get this offense going. And again, this is Patrick Mahomes. He hasn't been winning MVPs lately. It almost feels like when Tom Brady, like in his prime, was not winning the MVP every year, or when LeBron James wasn't winning the MVP every year in basketball, it was almost like those guys were graded on a different curve than everyone else, right? Like, oh, well, LeBron, he always makes the finals, so we'll give it to the other guy. We'll give the MVP to the other guy who had a like outstanding season, right? Oh, you know what? Josh Allen had a really good year last year, and even then, probably Lamar should have gotten the MVP, right? But it feels like these guys are constantly glossed over in terms of like what's in their trophy case. But make no mistake, I think Patrick Mahomes is by far the best quarterback in the NFL. He's going to be able to beat the Broncos and Bo Nix by more than 3.5 points here. There's nothing I really like about this Broncos team right now other than the defensive side of the football, right? So it feels like a discount to me. It feels like that's why we're getting sharp money on here because the Broncos have not played up to par all season. I don't think the Broncos look to me like a one and done football team if they make the playoffs, right? Right now they're in the lead for the AFC West, so like they're by all accounts they should make the playoffs, right? But like if we're looking at the table, like if the Bills end up in the 5 seed and they go to Denver to play the Broncos, right? I think the Bills smoke them. If the Ravens end up as a 6 seed, right? If they can't get the division back from the Steelers and they go to Mile High, I would pick the Ravens with Lamar Jackson. It just feels like the Broncos are barely skating by. Their splits against real teams are horrible. And if we know one thing about the Kansas City Chiefs, in the Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid era, they're as good as it gets, like in the NFL. So what do you think, man?
Yeah, just some trends that I think are applicable here. Andy Reid is 59.5% against the spread coming off of a bye. But Sean Payton is 57.6% against the spread as a home underdog. So kind of interesting as an underdog, excuse me, not a home underdog. The money line implies the Chiefs have a 67.5% chance to win. And then the line is moved to 4. It may close at 4.5. So money is still coming in on the Chiefs at this point. I thought it was interesting. The Chiefs have the best EPA per pass play when the quarterback scrambles. So Patrick Mahomes, when he gets on the move, is the most efficient player in the NFL at swinging the odds of the game, right, or increasing his team's point total. I'm very curious if Denver can keep him contained in the pocket. I think that becomes a really, really important aspect of this game. It's something I'm going to be looking for early on. Historically, against Denver, Mahomes has put up 270 yards, 1.5 passing touchdowns, and 66.5% completion per game. And then this one I thought was interesting. I don't know. You tell me if I'm like overthinking it too much and then one quick figure for Denver that I thought was pretty mind blowing. Denver's only run 41% of their snaps in opposing territory this year, worst in the NFL. They do not have a lot of opportunities to score each week. It's been really hard. It was Spagnuolo and the Chiefs, dude. If you're only getting on their side of the field for 41% of your snaps, I just don't know. I don't know how many scoring opportunities they're going to have, and like I could see that getting out of hand early. Like if the Chiefs can go up 10 or 14 and force them to really start trying to push a little bit, I think this thing can go downhill quickly. Because I think what they've been doing is hiding Knicks. And then this one, just tell me if maybe I'm too in my bag here. With Dobbins going out, so Dobbins has actually been one of the better pass blocking running backs in the NFL this year. He's been one of the most efficient running backs in the NFL this year at picking up first downs and breaking tackles. So what he's been is this crafty veteran for them that moves the chain. He protects Knicks on third down. I was a big fan of Harvey as a prospect. I still am, but because he's like a home run hitter, like Harvey's not a great pass blocker. He's not a very like a particularly large guy. He's more this crazy freak athlete, and I'm excited to see how he does. But I just wonder, like, how much does that matter if you can't do with a quarterback like Bo Nix that is not doing the fundamental or basic things correctly? if you don't have that guy, that what Dobbins was doing was stabilizing a lot of these drives, stabilizing a lot of these red zone opportunities, stabilizing a lot of like the second and 5 to third and 1 to converting a first down. I just wonder like how do Harvey and Bidet do in his spot, and I think that may be a real factor for the Broncos because of how Bo Nix has played. For me, this is like just a bet against Bo Nix. If you told me that both of these defenses are really good, Denver's is better, I would say, but these are both elite defenses. They're Kansas City's fringe top 5, Denver's top 3. Just alone, the gap that I perceive between Mahomes and Bo Nix is so big that I would bet on that at under 4 points. I'll do it all day.
Yeah, totally agree. Hopefully this comes home for us. Like our season consensus record, like it's been getting better lately, but like we were so bad at the beginning of the year, we need to start pinging these. But it feels like a
Yep.
good spot for Kansas City. In full transparency, I would prefer if the Chiefs didn't make the playoffs this year. Like I feel if the Chiefs drop this game, this is absolutely must win for them, right? Like this is in the division. You're not going to get the Chiefs type of performance where they don't give a shit about a regular season game, right? Which is like kind of like been a
The
storyline
thing.
that maybe the Chiefs only get up for the playoffs. This is must win for them, man. I think they're getting the Broncos are about to get their best shot. Patrick Mahomes and Rashee Rice best shot here. So I like it. All right, this one is me, and I actually think I don't know if this game got flexed into like a more prime time slot or it's just like a late East Coast start because usually these East Coast games start at like 10 Pacific, but this one is going to be at 1:20 Pacific kickoff. And we have the Baltimore Ravens going to the Cleveland Browns. They're visiting Dylan Gabriel in the Cleveland Browns, and I'm taking the Ravens minus 7.5 here. Again, I'm doing a lot of no-nos on this pick. I'm getting the wrong side of a key number. 7.5 is the wrong side of a touchdown, right? So even a touchdown doesn't do it for me. I'm picking against an AFC North divisional home underdog. By far, that's one of the best historical bets you could make. Like if you don't watch football at all and you just kind of blind bet on trends, this would be one where you pick the Browns here, getting a key number at home. But I feel like there's a big enough difference in between what these two teams are that it's worth taking that wrong side of the key number. And here's the betting breakdown. We have 78% of total bets against the spread on the Ravens here and 75% of the total dollars against the spread on the Ravens. So teeny tiny little whale lean towards Cleveland here. I'm sure that's like trend betters, right? Or, because if you've been betting a long time and you've been successful, what a successful bet has been for you is picking a home divisional underdog in the AFC North. So I don't blame guys for taking the Browns here, who have looked good at certain points this year, but I think it's a Ravens number here for sure. Um, Season record against the spread, the Ravens are 4-5. It really is like a tale of two seasons for them, really, or not even two seasons, but just a horrendous down period for the Ravens, where it looked like they were dead in the water. They're crawling back into AFC North contention, and the Browns are 3-6 against the spread. So they've covered a couple times, but largely speaking, they're not covering. Offensive and defensive ranks here, the Ravens are 20th in offensive yards gained and 26th in defensive yards allowed. I feel like that offensive number is probably lower than it should be right now because of the weirdness they had to go through without Lamar Jackson and some of the situations they ended up in. I feel like the defensive number at 26 is about accurate. They're so banged up. Then the Ravens are 31st in offensive yards gained and second in defensive yards allowed. Again, I feel like that's totally representative of this Browns football team. With Dylan Gabriel steering the ship, it's just there is not really much upside to the offense other than my man, the big Q, Quinshad Judkins, and their defense is really when the Browns are winning or covering games, it's entirely on the back of their defense putting up a generational performance. So I'll keep this one very short, man. I feel like Lamar Jackson's impact cannot be overstated for what this Ravens team wants to do, right? We saw them look like a bottom five team in the league with their injured defense and without Lamar, and now they've just gone ahead and won every single game since Lamar is back. It looked like the season was lost. Now they're 2 games back of the Steelers, who are kind of like falling at the exact right time for the Ravens, which is great. So, and they're going to be going into Cleveland playing a team that is just significantly more significantly undertooled versus what they are, right? These two seasons are in entirely different spots. The Browns traded Joe Flacco in division to just get a better look at their rookies. The Browns do not care about this season at all. This is just about developing rookies and seeing what they have. The Ravens are fighting for playoff positioning with Lamar Jackson, with Derrick Henry, with Zay Flowers. It feels like to me, right? Like if you want to say the Ravens aren't the team they have been the last 2 years, you would say it's defensively. They're banged up and not nearly as good as they have been when they were making deep runs in the playoffs. But the Cleveland Browns, they have Dylan Gabriel out there. He just does not have the upside. We've seen his passing charts. We've seen him have an inability to get the ball to wide receivers. That's why guys like Harold Fannin and David Njoku have such high target shares and are in your fantasy lineups, right? The quarterback cannot push the ball outside the numbers or down the field, so he has to take the safety blanket. And quietly, ever since Lamar has been back, and really ever since the Bears game where the Ravens beat the Bears, they've played better against the quarterbacks, right? Caleb had a hard time against them. Nine looked like week one, nine against them. So it's like, is Dylan Gabriel gonna really be the guy who takes advantage of you know, the injury and the inconsistency of the Ravens defense? I don't think so. And again, when we're laying large numbers like this, right? In 7.5 is a pretty big number. What you're doing in that situation is you're opening yourself to a backdoor cover, right? Like that's why a lot of times we like to take big underdogs, especially if their offenses are live, because they might be able to get in the back door and cover in garbage time. I feel like more so than just about any other team in the league, other than maybe like the Titans, the Browns' offense is so putrid that they're not really going to be putting up a lot of points. I don't think even in garbage time. So I feel like if the Ravens get up in this game by like 17 points, by 21 points, 24 points, which I think is totally on the board with pretty much their full offensive unit. They might be missing a lineman or two, but it's all of the skill guys are there, right? It feels like if they can build that lead, that it's probably going to be a pretty easy ride to the finish line just because the Browns offense isn't explosive, right? It's entirely on Quinshaw Judkins. It's entirely like a methodical process that the Browns need to go through to move the football and move the chains. It feels like a good number to me. I know that I'm doing a lot of things you should not be doing as a better, but sometimes you gotta like take risks at some point, right? And you gotta like do things not necessarily that are trends if you want to win. And I feel like this feels like it might feel like stealing at the end of the week, given what these two teams are. What do you think, Yanni? I know that you watch a lot of Ravens this year, and you have massive fantasy bags on Baltimore doing well. Do you think this is
I
too
do.
much?
No, I mean they covered it last time in week 2, didn't they? Off the top of my head, I want to say they did. It's like 11 or 12.
I think
Yeah,
so. Yeah.
I think so. Well, while you're pulling that up, I mean, you are correct about the defense. The last 3 weeks, 11.6 in points per game allowed. The Browns are a brutal matchup, dude. Second in total defense, second against the rush, 10th against the pass. But Lamar threw 4 touchdowns. He threw for like 260 and 4 touchdowns last time they played. And then historically against the spread, in Cleveland, the last 17 years, the Ravens are 17 or 13-4 against the spread. So like they cover almost 75% of their spreads in Baltimore or in Cleveland. Like I understand the trends are bad in some respects, but in other ones they're good. Um, and then I thought this was sort of interesting that the Browns have been a weird wagon at home. They're 3-1 this year against the spread at home. They're 0-5 against the spread on the road. And then that includes Joe Flacco's numbers. Since letting go of Joe Flacco, the last 6 weeks against the spread, they are 1-5. So no, I think you had a good number here. I think I don't know. I think the Browns are in trouble. I just don't like. I didn't like that Lamar was on the injury report, and now he came off of it. It looks like he's going to be good to go. I just didn't like that. And then I don't like that the Browns defense is good enough that to me it creates a really big range of outcomes in any given game. So like I would bet your side. I think you have the right side. And for the last 17 games, you would have been right 13 times here. So I think it's going to come home. It's just the Brown. I actually respect the Browns defense enough that like they kind of freak me out a little bit to bet on or against this year.
Yeah. I did not check the weather report, which I probably should have done in this game
It
because
was
I
clear.
feel it was clear. Okay.
Clear because I have a choice. Actually, you tell me. I have a choice in a must-win game between starting Lamar Jackson at Cleveland or Justin Herbert at Jacksonville. I've been switching them in and out of my lineup all week. Jacksonville allows the second most points to quarterback. Cleveland allows the bottom three in points allowed to quarterback.
That's tough, man. I mean, like, could you forgive yourself if you left Lamar on the bench and he did better than Justin Herbert?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So, but look, I think you have the right side. I think you have the right side. Lamar threw for 4 touchdowns last time these guys played. So,
He's been very efficient all year for the most part.
yeah. Okay, our Ted just did 2 in a row. I'll handle this one. This is also becoming like my not that I'm some football fucking genius because I figured out the Cowboys defense sucks. The Cowboys defense sucking. That has been like you turn on NFL media and they just start segments with like, well, the Cowboys fucking blow in multiple ways. Here's your weekly scores. So it's not like I'm not out here breaking new ground in fantasy or in sports betting analysis, but the Cowboys defense sucks. So like it's been like my signature bet this year. I've just continuously hit these Cowboys overs because until something really changes, they're hitting it like a 66% rate, approaching a 70% rate. I'm glad Ted is with me on this one. And again, not that Ted followed. It does not take a genius. You just watch the Cowboys and you're like, I think I'm going to bet on them hemorrhaging points. I think anytime that they're around, what is the biggest point total I took on them this year? I want to say it was 52.5 or 53.5 and it hit. I remember in the Skins game when we were debating, is that too big? It was 54.5 and it was like 67 was the total with Marcus Mariota playing. It's just ridiculous, the horrific defense we've seen out of them. The Raiders, I was a little surprised. We'll get into it here. So 57% of total bets have been on the over. 80% of total dollars bet are on the over. A 23% sharp money lean on this one. And I think it's because it kind of feels like it's free money. It's rare to say that in NFL betting, and it's certainly not, but it feels like it to me. Like, I think I'm just going to kind of keep picking this until something really changes. The Panthers hit an over against the Cowboys. The season record on the over-under for the Cowboys is 6-3. The season record on the over-under for the Raiders is 3-6. So they've hit 6 unders as opposed to 3 overs. It's the reverse for the Cowboys. I'm not worried about that for a few reasons, and I'll tell you why. But the Cowboys' offense is 4th. They've dropped a little bit. They had a couple rough games before their bye. Their defensive rank is 31st. They've been supplanted by the Bengals. And the Raiders are the 30th offense and the 15th defense. I was surprised that the Raiders are the 15th defense. They've actually just sort of been middle of the road in a couple different ways, probably because Pete Carroll's a competent defensive mind. He's got his son on the defensive staff. They have Max Crosby. I was surprised that they're 15th. Just a few figures that apply to the game. So why I think the Raiders will be able to score here, which is to me the most important part of this bet. They've only been 31st in offense this year. But the Cowboys allow the 9th most receiving yards to tight end. They are top 10 in receiving yards allowed to tight end, and they get Brock Bowers this week. So I think we have a huge Brock Bowers spot here. And then against the running back, to me, Ashton Jeanty is live to be the number 1 overall player in fantasy this week. They allow the 6th most rushing yards to running backs. They allow the most receiving yards per game to running backs. So as far as I'm concerned, if you give the Raiders almost unlimited room for Ashton Jeanty and Brock Bowers to operate, which I think they will have here, I'm not really worried about the Raiders offense being able to do their part and get us to 20, 28 points. I'm just not. And then the Cowboys, like CeeDee Lamb has obviously been under 100% with his high ankle, but now we're getting to so many weeks removed, and he just got 2 weeks of inactivity and probably nonstop treatment on the ankle. I think we're going to see CeeDee Lamb look a lot better. I think Javonte Williams, just because he has a high mileage, he's a high mileage guy, I think he'll look a lot better coming out of the bye. I'm wondering to what degree they change up George Pickens' usage coming out of the bye. Just something, they look at what worked and what didn't. I think we see the most efficient usage we've seen out of Pickens all year. Now they have 10 weeks of data that they've been sitting on that they've now worked with. So that's really all it is. 4th ranked offense, 31st ranked defense, and they are a particularly horrible matchup for what the Raiders do best on offense. In a dome, I love this one. Get all your Raiders, get all your Cowboys in your starting lineup. Stream Geno Smith in Superflex if you want to. If you're playing DFS, you can captain Geno Smith at a reasonable rate. I don't hate that at all. I don't know, man. Something's going to have to really change. Maybe Quinnen Williams really steps up and we reevaluate what the Cowboys defense is, but it didn't look like it the first week into the experiment. Well, it doesn't look like it. Excuse me. I don't think he's taken the field yet. Yeah, I'm not worried about this one. I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the Cowboys score their points here, right? Like the Raiders, they may be 15th in like defensive yards allowed, right? But and they only allowed 10 last week to the Broncos, right? So you could point to that. You could be like, well, the Raiders are playing good defense, but it feels like that Denver game, like with
That was
how
bad.
gut,
That was
yeah,
bad Denver. That was not good Raiders.
it was bad Denver. It was like a really weird like wind game. Like I don't know if you guys watched that game, but you could see like the center had to like hold on to the ball, and as soon as he let go of it, it would like start rolling on the ground because it was so windy, right? So I feel like there were a lot of factors that helped the Raiders keep that total so small, but they're going to be in elite. They're going to be in their own stadium, right? Allegiant Stadium. Even though it's probably going to be like 80% Cowboys fans, they'll see that as a fun vacation to Vegas. But it's going to be indoors, which is going to take out that variance, right? So I think the Cowboys score their points, and I think for the Raiders, they'll score their points as long as Gino like can keep this thing on the rails. That's what I was saying last week, hoping for a nice Brock Bowers game. I was like, well, Gino just needs to not throw like 3 interceptions and completely tank his team's chances here, and it feels like Genty and Bowers should have enough room to operate. Yeah, so that's why I ended up on it. It feels like it feels like a pretty safe bet to me, and I'm willing. I haven't been hitting these total bets as much this year, so I figured in a week where I needed to have a fifth game, I might as well ride with Yanni and steal his trend that he's found
My
because it's been pretty good.
genius. No one's been discussing it. It's been an underrated fact. Everyone keeps saying, "Are the Cowboys a top five defense? Is this a team that's a defense first team?" And I've been on it all year, man.
Well, dude,
I've
I,
seen
I
them.
feel like the betting community hates betting overs. Like there's like this weird fascination with like professional bettors.
The sharp community does,
Yeah,
yeah.
the sharp community, like they love betting unders and they say that like overs are a sucker bet, right? Like betting favorites and overs. Like there's been a couple weeks this year where like largely favorites and overs have covered and they're like, yeah, the public really won this time. Like who cares who's the public and who's like the sharps, right? We're just trying to win bets, and this has been a good bet. Cowboys overs all year, so we're on it.
Dude, yeah, yeah. Maybe in time, we end up really adjusting and growing, and maybe we're the guys that are pinging only the plus money 6.5s or whatever. I'd like to get to that point where I feel really good about it, but to me, that's part of like a learning curve. You know, it's like if you're trying to be a chef or whatever, start with like making a good steak, just a cast iron pan, get a good sear on it, throw some potatoes on the pan, make a really good steak before we're like making an au poivre sauce or whatever the fuck. You know, I'm not trying to get crazy yet. I know there's crazy ways that you can bet. I know that there's guys that are doing that. And it's something I've been pushing myself on this year. I don't know if you like feel the pressure to do that necessarily. Um, like I got told from 49ers Hub, try to really seek a good under for prop bets this week. Try to really find us a good under. And it's like, I don't know. To me, that's like a weird added pressure to add as well. I need to seem like I'm sharpening at the under, but clearly, if you don't hit the unders and the unders hit at like 45% or whatever they do each week, you are cutting yourself off, right, from a big percentage of what you should have been taking, or underdogs or unders. So I don't know. It is something I think about. I don't know. I don't know if you ever like introspectively reflect on that or not.
I mean, like I feel like I could do a better job it picking underdogs and picking unders at like a better clip, right? But at the end of the day, like who cares how it looks, man? Like at the end of the day, if you're getting paid, if you get to go to the window and get the money, you get the
Yeah,
money. You know what I mean? Like who cares how we get there? And I mean, our track record, at least for the 3 years we've been doing the show, is pretty solid so far.
yeah.
That's going to do it for us. If you made it through the whole video, thank you. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell. It helps the channel out. Question of the day for the audience. Yanni, I'll let you take this one.
What will the discussion around Brock Purdy be after this week? Does Brock Purdy come back and turn this thing around? Are we all over it? I've seen so much discussion that Brock Purdy is a replacement level NFL quarterback now. Is Brock Purdy destined to be the next Tua, the next Trevor Lawrence? Uh, was it real what we saw the last years? I've seen a lot of people saying that what Mac Jones did clearly shows it was a Kyle Shanahan thing, not a Purdy thing, and they shouldn't have paid him. What do you guys think we get out of Purdy this week in his return? I think it's going to look pretty good.
God, I love it when the NFL media talks about the 49ers because it's like just the most casual fucking bullshit takes. It's like you guys don't watch the team, do you?
Go
Obviously,
back. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Let you go ahead.
obviously, I think he's a franchise quarterback. I really do. Like, obviously, he's had growing pains, but guess what? Every young quarterback has growing pains. I don't know, man. The macro of what he's done, I think very few guys in the NFL can do. And I think it helps that Kyle Shanahan's a great coach, but are we really judging quarterbacks based on who their coach are? Like is that a ding against them? Oh, well, your coach is really good. You're in a good system. You know who was in a good system? Joe Montana,
Yeah,
Steve Young, great
Tom Brady,
systems. Is that dude? Yeah, Tom Brady was in a good system. Does that mean that they suck and it's all the
Patrick
coaches?
Mahomes.
Yeah,
Patrick
Patrick
Mahomes
Mahomes has
is
Andy Reid. Actually, it's an Andy Reid is great. Patrick Mahomes not even that good, replacement level, right? That's what we're talking about here, boys. But
Go back and for any Niners fans that are bored, go back and watch the highlights of the Detroit Lions NFC Championship game and look at what Brock Purdy did down, like when he had to actually put the team on his back. And I understand that can go awry sometimes when he does that. Go back and watch the Chiefs Super Bowl where he gave them 5 leads. He handed the 49ers and their defense 5 leads, and they couldn't bring it home against the best defense in the league that year, one of the best coordinators in NFL history. So that'll be our flag plant for the week is come back and see us when Brock Purdy gets things back on track.
yes, sir. We'll catch you next week.